This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza. Production services by Sidekick Media Services. And listeners like you, supporting us at patreon.com/awesomecast. Time to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast. I'm Mike Sorgatron on the Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're ready to talk some techie things, geeky things with you this evening or whenever you check this. This is a podcast. Why am I saying this evening? What the heck? This is timeless. It's timeless, right? But we have with us, everybody's on some sort of assignment or whatnot. So Shilla and Katie will be joining us in the coming weeks and everybody else. But joining us in studio from pghmuseums.org, Brian Crawford. Oh, wait, where's your thing? There it is. Wrong button.
What he's trying to say, first off, excuse me, I'm enjoying some Slice on Broadway.
There you go.
Best pizza here in Pittsburgh. Basically what Sorg's trying to say is everybody else was out, so he had to scrape the bottom of the barrel, or at least this guy will show up.
You're on the slack, and you're right down the road.
At least he's like, at least this guy's breathing. We can get him on here.
You didn't.
He's so unprofessional. He comes on eating a pizza. Can't even keep his words together because he's got food all through his mouth. But I couldn't help it. The Slice on Broadway is just so good.
You're helping everybody out as executive producer. You're pitching in. I appreciate it because nobody wanted me to do a solo show. Nobody wants me to talk by myself for 45 minutes because I don't even know if I get the 45 minutes. It would have been an interesting experiment, and nobody would have wanted to hear it.
So he's just like, let's get this dolt in. At least it's someone I can talk with.
I haven't talked to you in so long. Actually, you've been on the I need to get you in soon, and it was just like, Brian, I need to get you on this week. No, I have a need to get you on this week. So, but thus are the I don't know. It's a weird nexus. It's July. Everybody's has stuff going on. It's crazy.
Meanwhile, I'm alone, sitting in my apartment, just staring at the phone, waiting for you to call, hoping for some social interaction. Please. And then Sorg's over there. Ah, shit. Finally. All right, we'll bring him in. We'll give him this one. Nobody else can make it.
Oh, no. That's not how I meant that to go. Anyways, this is the AwesomeCast. Check out everything at awesomecast.com. Email us at awesomecast@sorgatronmedia.com. AwesomeCast on the Twitter. Of course, we have a great Facebook group, a Discord, and a Reddit for you to share stories throughout the week and discuss what's going on. And of course, we're live here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on our AwesomeCast Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and over on the Sorgatron Media Twitch page as well. And we got the chat rooms up for about everything here, so we appreciate everybody that does check in with us during the show out there. I see Dave Ponder is joining us in the chat room. Hi, awesome, including Brian.
Thank you, Ponder.
So there you go. You're appreciated. See, the chat room loves you.
Thank you. I am not worthy.
And also thanks to our friends that are helping share the awesomeness over at postindustrial.com, doing a lot of great work for the Rust Belt. And thank you to our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/awesomeclass, including our executive producer Brian, who's here. Listen, what my next step was going to send out something to the Patreons about having a Patreon free-for-all night of sorts, and you are at the top of the list.
Oh,
so
look at that. So I'm at the bottom of the call list, but the top of the money list.
Oh, but you're the first one to call, right? There's you, and then there's our friends at the Coffee Club, Matt Weller, John Carmen, Cynthia Klosky, Scott McTaggart, and Mike Bound, and our friends and Dave Podner. You guys can support the show too at patreon.com/awesomecast. We do get some extra messages and some behind-the-scenes stuff every once in a while over on that Patreon, and thank everybody that is supporting and keeping this show going. We do very much appreciate it, and we do appreciate talking awesome things of the week. And you got a pretty big one here this week, from the sounds of it. I'm happy. I got a Roomba last week. You got something a little more special.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I would say I'm lucky that at the price I got this at, but I don't know that the circumstances are great. I'm driving my car and the lights above, like the button you click, the light near like the visor, it starts like coming on and off at different times. So I'm like, it might just be something small, but I'm thinking it was time to upgrade, and I decided I was gonna jump in both feet and go full electric, and I'm getting an EV that's going to be delivered next Tuesday morning, so less than a week away at this point.
And you're getting it through Carvana, I
Yes.
understand. Please, I had a terrible experience personally with Carvana.
Oh, no.
That we illustrated on this show, so I really want to hear what your experience is with it. So I feel like what happened to me was an anomaly. They double sold a car, and we found out 2 days before it was supposed to be delivered. So that is my experience. I have a feeling I'm an outlier. So I'm really interested to hear what your experience is going through this process too.
Yeah, I think you will be, because there's been a lot of back and forth communication between them and myself.
Oh, there was back and forth.
Oh, was there?
There was
okay.
a lot of back and forth, and there was
When
going
there was
through
an
the
issue,
whole
or
process. No, there was a process because it took a month to
Yeah.
get everything approved, right? For
Oh, wow. See, mine was in a day.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it took, we were getting financing and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then like 2 days, they were like, "There's a problem with your order." I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" It's
Oh,
like,
no.
"Yeah, we sold it to somebody else." What? Like a
Wow.
weird thing duplicated in the system, and they went through the process on both of us, and the other person got in first. So it was a transport vehicle that we were trying to get for the work.
Yeah.
And we could not. They gave us like a $500 credit, but the next model was like another couple $100 a month and needed a down payment, and we couldn't apply the credit to even the down payment to
Wow.
get it going, and it had less features on top of everything.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Like it really kind of screwed us up, so we're like, yeah, we're done with that. So
Yeah, hopefully mine I'll be okay. I know as soon as I put the order in, it went from like available to
like take
sale
it.
pending.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like that didn't click apparently
Yeah.
when the other person bought the same car.
Okay.
And we got in there right after them in that little window.
Yeah.
So
Well, as awesome as that is, that's actually not my awesome thing of the week.
no, it's what you're going to be doing with it.
Yeah, so one of the concerns that I have had with the EV is like, where do you plug in? And there's this great app. It's called PlugShare, and it's available for both Droid, and it's also available on iPhone, and you can do it on the web. But from what I have read, it also integrates with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto right into your dash. And what it does is it pulls up all of the different public power plugs out there, charging stations out there from basically a variety of different brands. So you can find them. And it also designates, like you can pull up each individual one and it will tell you what type of charger it is. It'll tell you how many kilowatts is going to that charger. And then they actually color code orange for a fast charge, like a level 3 charge, which is a level 3 is within 20 minutes you get 80% of your battery charged. And then green, they have that orange for the fast charge, and then green for level 2, which is like 8 hours. So that's like good if you're going shopping, you can throw it on and you'll recover some of your battery life. So it shows you all of that, but the really, really cool feature, and this is the one that I was super excited about, is because the car I'm getting is a Spark, a Chevy Spark, and the range on the Chevy Spark isn't that great. So 90% of what I'm doing, no big deal. But I do like to go on road trips occasionally, and with this app, you can actually map your route, and it'll show you where you're going from to your destination, and then it'll show you all the charge points or charging stations in between, and then you can select the charging stations and add them to the route. And as you go along, because it actually, based on what you put in for your car, it knows what your car's capacity is. So it'll show you the miles, and as you click a station, it'll change the color of the route to let you know that you're in the clear, and you can build your way to your destination with charge points along the way.
Because this is, I mean, this is one of the say hang-ups of electric vehicles. It's not just, hey, stop at the gas station, take like 5 minutes, and you're on your way. Like, it is a process and time in order to do that appropriately.
Yeah. So you have to plan that out. If you can plan your route with fast charges, you're golden, because then it's just like 20 minutes.
And also, like, generally, it's, we talk outliers, like the outlier of, I want to take my Tesla and go cross country. Like, there's not a lot of people doing that, right?
No, and also a Tesla, there's a lot less stations available for Tesla,
right? Because they have a very specialized charger thing. Yeah.
But what's cool with this is, and it depends on what part of the country you're in. Like, around here, you can get to, like, for example, I can get to Cleveland actually relatively easily through fast charges, but getting to Columbus is a little tricky. Going east, impossible. If I want to go east, I'm going to rent a car. The infrastructure is just not there at this point for my particular car.
Really, getting closer, like you're talking about cross state, or when you get to like the metropolitan on the coast.
Once you get to the metropolitan area, it's fantastic. It's that middle ground in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Like, once you get to Harrisburg, it's great. It's just between, honestly, after you get out of Monroeville, it starts to get dicey. Even in like the North Huntington area, like the Sheetz there has a lot of Tesla chargers, but not anything else.
Anything regular, yeah.
Where Sheetz is finally starting to put charging stations, and they always have fast ones in a lot of their locations now. And that's one thing that these gas stations really need to get on the ball with, because like Dunkin' Donuts, for example, several Dunkin' Donuts in this area, they have fast charges right there.
Yep.
So I'll go there to charge my vehicle, because I rent, so I don't have the ability to put in a level 2 charger where I'm at. I can run a level 1, and that'll help some of the time, but my thoughts were I'll just go somewhere and charge it once a week. But Dunkin' Donuts, I can go there, get a cup of coffee for 20 minutes, have my vehicle charge, and leave. And Walmart's starting to put in chargers at their locations. Some Targets, the Target in East Liberty has a fast charge. So, these gas stations need to get on it, because, they're worried about their business going away. Well, it will if they don't invest in electric, because the car companies have pretty much made it clear that that's the direction they're moving in. So if these gas stations don't work to move into this now, they're going to be shut. They're going to end up going out of business, because people are going to get used to going to Walmart and Dunkin' Donuts and places like that.
Yes, because I mean, there was a good chat about the gas thing, and about the gas companies themselves are not the ones that determine the price. I mean, they do a little bit, but not a lot, because they're typically not making a lot of money on the gas. It's the coming in and getting a hot dog and coffee that is where they make money. And if they are like, but also we're in this interesting spot, right, where there's a balance, where enough people still have gas. We got to put this infrastructure in. And all these gas companies, you got, Sheetz, otherwise, but like most of the BPs and the Sunocos that you see are still mom and pop operations. So like I don't know what that is, because it's got to be a hefty expense.
It is,
and to be able to do that and
well,
see,
yes and no, though.
It's like looking at solar panels. Look, I'd love to get solar panels, but I can't find the price versus benefit spot on it with where my house is, and everything that goes with it. Like I haven't been able to figure that out yet, right? If I'm lived in California, it makes absolute sense, If I live further south, it makes absolute sense. In Pittsburgh, it makes about halfway sense, right?
So I almost wonder how expensive it is, and the only reason why I asked that is like some of the places I've been looking at on like trying to like plan out potential trips in the future. One of the charge stations was like outside of a funeral home, and people were just going there and charging. Another one is like this guy's like small motel, but he's like literally, it says on the app, because I guess they can put in their own updates, and it literally says on the app, text me if you're coming, but if you don't, feel free to just plug in. Like, these people clearly aren't like big business.
So it's like Airbnb people. So maybe it is. I guess maybe it is. Maybe it is just putting like a 220 line in your house.
I'm wondering. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but I wonder if it's as cost prohibitive as you might think, just because of some of the stuff I'm seeing.
You have to get a special connector and everything and whatever adapter, but I guess you just.
But I almost wonder
get an electrician and you're good, right?
Well, I almost wonder if the company might help you with some of those costs, because
which company?
depending on, there's different companies that offer different charging stations.
Okay, you're talking about like some kind of charging station
like
providers.
EVgo is one, Charge Point's another. I almost wonder if they help with that cost because they can also actually charge. So some of these stations are not free. A lot of the free ones are at different businesses that are trying to entice you to shop there.
Right.
But or like a parking garage, like one of my plans is the the Pittsburgh Parking Authority's garage by the Cultural District, not the Mellon Square one, but the other one. You can go in there on weekends. It's $5 all day, and then they have free charging stations inside of there. So I could fill up. I can like literally go after work, pull into the garage, throw my car on the charger, go home, go to sleep, come back and get it, and head to work or do whatever I want to do, and it'll cost me $5. So that's basically filling up your car for $5. So like, there's those options, but a lot of these places they charge you either per minute or per amount used. So it's way cheaper than gas, but they're still making money. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if maybe some of these companies, I don't know for sure, but just a guess, maybe they are off-putting some of these costs because they know they're getting into an area and they're able to make money by just having it at that facility.
So I believe this has passed. But I'm finding an article. This is from like February of this year. But I know this was in the news recently, and I believe this passed and is getting signed. But there was a bill that was going through from the Biden administration of a $5 billion over 5 years national EV charging network. I believe that is going forward. I'm looking at a really quick Federal Highway Administration article on this thing, and I'm curious, like maybe that's the connecting tissue also, but also. And this is going to be a state by state each state needs to provide a plan to get their funding kind of situation.
Yes.
So what is that? Is that going to be at all the rest stops? Is it going to be providing funding for these gas stations that are along?
So it's going to go
routes?
to gas stations.
Right?
Is going to be what most of it is going to be, and it's going to be along highway routes. There's some complications with that in western states, more so than like around here.
Because they're barely like we've been to the one desert where it's like, hey, there's no gas station for 80 miles.
Yes.
Like that kind of thing.
That kind of thing. And then
gas
some of them
is twice as much because of it.
And then there's also no electricity in a lot of these places because a lot of these requirements isn't so much like putting a gas station here. They're requiring them to have every so many miles. And that's where they're coming into issues where they're like, some of these states are like, look, we're with it. We'll do it, but we can't do it as frequently as you want because it just is not. It just doesn't make any sense.
This is early days. There will be road bumps. This is early. The early adopters are already passed. We're at like a medium adopter. I think I was telling you beforehand. There's like this threshold, like I think here or in England or something, where it's like something like 5% are EVs now that are being sold new. I believe that's just new.
That's wild. That's great.
And that is when you see features in a car. When you get to that mark, it was something about when you get over that point. This is when it like that's the hockey stick. That's the beginning of the hockey stick of it taking off, right? And I can't cite that. I know it's been in the news lately. There's some article that was going around, and it was on like at least 2 podcasts I listened to. That's my research. So
they're doing so many cool things in other countries. Like you go to apparently like some of these countries they're actually turning lampposts into EV charging stations.
Oh, yeah.
So because that would solve a lot of issues in cities. Like for instance, like with me, if I want to charge at home, it's going to be level 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to run an extension cord out of I'm actually adding one of those adapters to my light bulb at the bottom of my stairwell, so that way I can keep my top door locked.
So there are ways to do that, because that was one question. Like Missy and I talk about this all the time. It's like we can't do it. We don't have like a dedicated street parking or garage or anything. It was like, well, you can just run a line out, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Can we park in front of our house? Yes, we can run a line out. That's what people do. That's literally what people do. So it's very interesting. So I am very interested in hearing about your EV adventure.
Yeah.
And that will inform my decisions in the near future. That's
all
I can say about that.
My only suggestion for you especially is don't go with the Spark because I think...
No. I was looking at it. I'm like, I've seen a Spark. I've seen the bolts, and the Spark I think is smaller than the Bolt. And it's like,
well, not only that, like the range on the Spark is only 80 miles, and you do so much traveling with your video work.
Because there's no if I replaced, if we were to get like this transport vehicle that becomes the thing that we go to gigs for, like I'm going to Iowa next week, or Chicago, or the Poconos, or Myrtle Beach, like that's the thing. Like EV is not there for us yet.
Especially with that. Like, I think,
and I can't afford a Tesla truck, okay?
It's more feasible if you were to get like another Chevy that's not a Spark. The problem is the Spark was their second EV vehicle, so
yes,
the range isn't what it is in
and
like
those
the
early
Bolt,
ones. They were small. There were those little like golf cart sized things I see driving around the South Hills. Think guys like that. Like that makes sense. I get that. What I need probably is a Ford F-150 Lightning.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
Oh, yeah,
something
definitely.
with high capacity.
And they're honestly, they're not selling any more than the Ford F-150 was back when it was gas.
No, they're not. They're not. But also that's a fleet vehicle, and that's a whole other kind of thing. But we need to start thinking on a business side on our side.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's very exciting. I don't know if I know anybody else that has an EV. By the way,
wow, I'm at the cutting edge here.
I mean, of our regular friends, local friends, no, I don't think I do. I don't know somebody that owns a Tesla. I think I know somebody that pre-ordered the Cybertruck though, that we worked with. But and I've seen the Cybertruck twice now. So and I saw the semi truck get rolled into the speedway last month.
Nice.
We've seen a lot of EVs thanks to our work, but no, absolutely. Well, my awesome thing is more throwbacky. It's throwbacky with some new tech. Another thing that I don't have yet, an Xbox Series X, and there was a great article over at extremetech.com because what do you do when you get this newfangled technology? You throw some old software on it, and somebody was able to get the Xbox Series X. No, that's you. How about this one here? To run Windows 98 SE, by the way, to play classic PC games.
That is pretty sweet. I am super I'm actually excited about this, and me, I'm not much of a video game person, but there was a short stretch in my life where I was actually really into gaming, and it was because it was very like community based in storytelling, and it was basically have you ever played Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2?
Oh yeah,
so that was it. I got
really
super
big on the
into
first
that
one.
What's that?
Really big on the first one.
Dark Forces, the original. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dark Forces was cool too, but the thing about Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 is it was the game itself was like meh, but the multiplayer was incredible, and it was before and this is one of my I guess I don't want to say it's a grievance, but I guess it is in a way. Multiplayer nowadays, there's a lack of creativity, and back then, it was so new. Everything was created by the fan base, so it wasn't spoon-fed to you from Blizzard or whatever company. Yeah. It was like people had online message boards that they had forums, and they made their own story, and they came up with their own criteria as to how you would go from being an apprentice to a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master. And it was just this organic community through MSN Gaming Zone, speaking of Microsoft.
So there is stuff I think you'd be interested, because I actually stumbled on it. I started playing again a little bit of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and they have a story generator. And actually,
cool.
A little bit to that. Also, check out the creative characters on WWE 2K, like the new version, because you can do everything from ring storylines to the wrestlers themselves, obviously, and some of them are pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's a whole section for that, right? Same with like I found myself, I haven't played Assassin's Creed for a while. Let's see if I can get back into this game. And I started playing it, and first mission that came up was I'm starting to get into it. I'm just like, oh, this is like user mission, right? And I could tell because I had to kill 8 of the bad guys in this fortress and help out this fortress that's being defended, and this fort, and I beat 6 of them and couldn't find the other 2 guys. I was wandering around until I finally triggered it, and the guys came along or something, right? I was like, okay, that's a user thing, that's fine, But no, I think what you're thinking of is what is now existing in your Roblox and your Minecrafts and things like that. That's it. And even Quake has a resurgence because they re-released it with new levels.
Okay. Nice.
My brother and I have been playing it. There's a new multiplayer mode that they threw in there. And this is from developers that have created like back when these creative maps like Jedi Knight era, like people that worked on them then are making new stuff and they're putting it into the game, including like redesigns or the Doom 64 version, or the N64 version of Quake is in there and everything like that. It's very interesting what they're doing.
Yeah, that sounds super cool.
But
I love Dark Forces too because they literally had it in the instruction manual. This is how you add your own levels and your own it was great. But there's really so many games in that area. X-Wing Alliance is awesome. Myst, like stuff like that, that was just like so cool.
And a lot of cool games that were on something like I played Turok the Dinosaur Hunter and Resident Evil on my PC when that was really hard to do so with like a 3DFX add-in card and all this kind of stuff, and they looked so cool. Then I go and like play the N64 version, and I'm like, oh, I played the right version.
So what was really funny with me in that era is I had DSL. We didn't have cable.
Right.
And that was back, before FiOS and everything.
I was rocking a dial-up those days.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's still nothing other than dial-up on that road.
Wow.
So
maybe I did have dial-up. I don't know. I just know that my connection was super bad when I played it, and I've always been terrible at video games. So Dark Forces 2. I called myself the lag master, and I would intentionally move really quick. My thing would lag, and that's how I was able to stay relevant in that game, was because my image would freeze and people would be attacking like something that wasn't there because of the lag. And I mean, that was my strategy to surviving because, like I said, I'm horrible at video games. But I was able to survive that way.
But either way, these guys, they put it on the Xbox Series X. It's running Windows 98. They actually do have to create ISO files of the CDs. You can't just put a CD. It does have a CD drive, but I don't think they could get the CD drive to work with like interface appropriately with the emulation. So I'm really excited about that. I can't say that when I finally upgrade my Xbox from my OG Xbox One, that which just feels like a giant toaster sitting on my coffee table, honestly. But some of those load times are getting pretty bad on newer games. But this is fun. This is exciting, and I'd love to play some of these old games again in an easy way. I still have a stack of those games from that era, and it just, to rebuild. And I love this video too. It's doing a lot of comparison of like they have a computer still running Voodoo 3, Pentium 2 or 3, specs.
That's awesome.
So they're doing a side by side with that and everything. And they say it runs like pretty good. It runs pretty standard.
I think it's something they should run with. I feel like that's the kind of thing that would entice someone who is unconventional like myself to getting.
Wouldn't you love that if like Windows just said here is? Well, I mean, they can still take a lot of these. Oh no, there's actually a lot of muddiness that happens in there. If they did that. Remember, I don't know, are you an Xbox player? I can't remember. No. But so with Xbox, for them to move things from, like, it wasn't easy for them to say, okay, this game's just going to run on the next system, especially from like the Xbox original to the 360 to the One, because there were different graphics chips.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to, there wasn't any de facto built-in compatibility with that. Because it was like, the first year was like, I think they maybe used NVIDIA in the first one, ATI in the second one, or even it was like maybe even an IBM or something. And then, whatever they have now. So they really had to build, like each game had to be tailored for the new software, basically. Like and emulated and tested and making sure there's no problems. And so now you can't just like, there's a lot of games that'll work. There's still a lot of misses.
Makes sense, yeah.
Especially if it's a game from like an indie that doesn't have a lot of money, a company that went out of business, something with IP, like people that used to have the Marvel license from 10 years ago. You're just good luck finding a digital version of those games. That's why I like trying to find discs of my like Wolverine's Revenge and Deadpool game, because Activision doesn't have the license anymore, so you can't buy it digitally. But that's the kind of stuff that goes into that. But I would love if they're just like, hey, here's a button, download this little package, throw your OG Jedi Knight game on, this thing will emulate, maybe, God, wait, what would they even do? Whatever chip is in there, I would love that they just emulated that era's, ATI Rage or or whatever would get them going, right?
Yeah.
It would. Who bought Voodoo? Did Nvidia bought Voodoo? Maybe.
I'm not sure.
It was one of the companies, one of the two big graphics companies bought 3DFX. So technically, they own the API and could partner with them to apply this and play the old games. But they would rather repackage these games so you'll buy them again.
That's true.
Because half of the games that you've talked about were on the Xbox, which they have made compatible. I believe I do have Jedi Knight 2 in my library from Gold in my Xbox.
Yeah, and my thing is like I remembered seeing that, but Jedi Knight 2, like I said, it wasn't really a great game for one, and it was and even the multiplayer isn't that great. It was the creating your own levels and the community that surrounded it that made it fun. I feel like you can't replicate that particular game.
The Potter's telling me from before, back in 2009 when he tested a Volt.
I saw that.
I ran a cord out my window. Yeah, I mean,
well, that's what I was thinking about doing until I thought of the light bulb thing, and I'm like, well, if I do the light bulb thing, I don't have to keep the windows open. It's a lot easier. It's not running a line as much. But I was thinking exactly that.
It's like I want to run. It's like that patchwork of new technology. It's like I want to put in automated switches and things, and you just look around your house and you realize it was built in the 1930s, and you're like, I can't possibly do this in this house, like things like that.
They actually make it pretty easy. They have so many light bulbs that are hub free.
Sure, there's light bulbs and things like that, but we're at the point now. But like 5 years ago, it was like,
how
do I patchwork this thing together with my old technology and the new technology and things like that? My house is pretty shoddy, but I have speech speakers in it. It's not modernized by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe like 40 years ago it was. Anyways, but hey, you know what is timeless? Our good friends at Slice on Broadway, New York City style yins are made, Beachview, Carnegie, East End, North Hills, and last I knew they got a pop-up over down in the South Side Works, and Brian's enjoying it as well. We like to feed our guests in there, and thank you, Slice on Broadway, for helping us feed our guests and making sure we get a little pizza eating ASMR for our podcast listeners. Oop. I'm just going to let that sit on the chewing for a minute. Slice on Broadway. You can make chew sounds too. Let's see what else we got here in the lineup. We got a lot of great stories going on. First of all, let me see. I think we had another game one of sorts. Or no, let's hop to this one actually. Yeah, let's go do this one. I was excited about this, and I immediately sent it to some friends. One of our friends that does Top Rope Tabletop, which is our Pro Wrestlers Dungeons and Dragons group that was here last Friday. He's a big Blue Ranger fan of the Power Rangers. And when I saw this come up, Hasbro will 3D print your face onto its iconic action figures. And you see from the image here, we got some G.I. Joe, some Power Rangers, and some Ghostbusters action, right? Unfortunately, I sent it to him, and he says they do not have the Blue Ranger. What?
Lame.
Come on. Make a young wrestler's dreams come true, Hasbro. Come on. But yeah, you log in their site, which is linked right here. HasbroPulse.com looks like it has it. And this is the selfie series. Because it's 2022. It's a selfie series, and apparently you go through this process, and you can special order. Not Siri, go away. You can special order your. This page is taking forever to load. I need to upgrade.
Well, you sort of already been commemorated as an action figure.
I have actually, yes, the full body action figure, I suppose, right?
So if you were to turn me into an action figure, what character would my face be on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think in this case it's kind of a self. Like, what would you want to be? What was your action figure that you always wanted to be? Myself, I always wanted to be a Ninja Turtle, so that gets a little bit awkward.
Yeah, I like the turtles as well. I did play with them a lot when I was a kid. I don't know, but what do you see me as, Sorg? That's what I really want to know. How do you see me?
I don't know. Well, there's the action figure.
I mean, I'm in the bottom of the barrel as far as like guests on the AwesomeCast, so it's got to be like some lowly. Like you probably see me as like a foot soldier.
So like Oscar the Grouch. What are you talking about here?
Yeah.
There's the for guys on video. That's the
that is
the
cool.
little like this, and I don't know if the scale translates here. It's one of those little D&D like little figurine kind of things that our friends over there made, and it's really cool because this is from Hero Forge that we've talked about on the show before, where you can do a customized thing and you can do your character or you can do yourself or something like that. And they gave me that for the help I've been giving them on those shows. Man, I don't know, man. You're thinking 80s? Like you want to be a Silverhawk or something, or a Thundercat maybe?
That would be pretty cool. See, I thought like, coming on today, I thought you'd be like, oh, the foot soldier, the I'm trying to think what else do we have? The nameless extra in G.I. Joe.
The putties from Power Rangers?
Yeah, the putties.
I'm just going on your path here so, that you're presenting here. So yeah. The I don't know any of the nameless Transformers that bit it in the movie.
No, I wouldn't even make it the Transformer class. I'd be like the kid that everyone is annoyed with. That's me. I'd be that action figure. Sorg's gonna be Optimus Prime, and I'll be like the kid like that everybody like watches the show and they're just like, oh please, Megatron,
why are they
just shoot this kid, please?
Megatron squish this kid under your boot. Yeah. There's always like a kid on there. Like I don't get it. There was like 3 of them in the one of the anime ones. I was like, what are we doing? I'm here for the big robots.
That's right.
I don't know. But hey, let us know if you guys are looking out there. I know there's some action figure collectors in our group that are
Sorg's
Bumblebee.
I'm Shia LaBeouf.
I would of this like I mean it's like Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, and G.I. Joe so far. Like I could do a Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Let's see. This is one that this is staying on games for a second. How about Wordle, the board game?
I saw that. Yeah, I still have to learn what Wordle is. I tried to play it once and I was like confused.
It seems like just a harder Wordle because how would you set this up? But yeah, Hasbro and New York Times Games are planning a physical release for the game's anniversary. And of course, New York Times has bought it from the wonderful person who was intended to just do it as a free experiment, I think to entertain his wife or girlfriend during COVID. And of course, become this whole thing because it became too big for him to manage as it just exploded.
Somebody in the comments on that website said, that doesn't that already exist? Isn't it Scrabble?
Right? Right, or Boggle, or it's it's called Scrabble. That was mine too. It was like I was like, this feels like adapting this to real world, like turns it into Boggle, right? But it's out there and you get it if you're really into Wordle and got to get some physical Wordle on, or you want to introduce Wordle to your grandma who's not going to use a phone. You have this as an option.
Well, if it saves the newspaper industry by turning a app into a board game, I'm all for it.
I've been very excited. We talked about this months ago. There's a game that just came out, I think today or tomorrow, called Stray. I'm trying not to pick it up. You're a cat in a post-apocalyptic future or cyberpunk future, but the cat physics are spot on apparently. And to go along with that, apparently you can get a limited edition cat backpack in conjunction with Travel Cat is the company, pet accessory maker Travel Cat, and you can get your Stray, and you see it's got the little Stray logo. So, and it looks kind of futuristic. I don't know what cat backpacks usually look like. I saw a dog hanging out of a backpack on the back of a bicycle the other day when I was doing some walking. But yeah, that's it. That's.
I have a few really big cat lovers who I'm going to share that with when I saw that.
Can I just put my Chihuahua in this thing?
Probably. Yeah, it even says on there medium-ish size dogs. It actually says ish, medium-ish size dogs. So yeah, tempted. You could definitely.
That is definitely tempting. Look at that little bulb thing. Yeah,
that is pretty cool.
So I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like putting I was like, can I put my dog in my backpack and just take him along with me? Because I feel like I go on too long of walks that he would want to. Because I'm starting to hike and stuff,
Yeah,
I was like,
saw that.
I can't take my Chihuahua on a hike.
Let me know.
On
I'm
a
always
2-mile hike. I'm
always into walking and hiking.
So I'm discovering my hikiness since I'm here. And trying to develop good habits before I get on the road again.
I saw you. Yeah, I saw you on the Rivers Trail, and I will say, like, one cool thing about that trail is every side of the river's a different feel. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely worth like exploring like all of it because it all has a different like
absolutely
essence to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like right now I'm kind of doing I'm trying to make myself do 2 miles a day. Mm-hmm. I'm on day 9 of that, and now I have another week to instill that before I start traveling again and figure out how I'm going to keep doing that. So especially on some of the busy days I have planned. Mm-hmm. But it's been very cool, and I don't want to get into it too much now. I want to wait till Katie comes back on, or a partner as well, so we can have a big kind of a walking tech throwdown. But all trails. I know Katie introduced me to, already signed up for it. It's like $35 for the year. It's like, nice. Yeah, I'm going to use this. Also, the Allegheny County Trails app is really good. I used it at Seller's Cabin, and I appreciated it. It was just like I found it like literally I was looking at a map for the trail, and they had a QR code, and you download it, and it was like, oh, cool, here's all the trails. Because I found like an old map that probably wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
Online, because I'm trying to figure out what's what. I'm like, yeah, this is the trail I want to do, and it's just like if I didn't have that, who knows where I would have ended up.
Yeah, that would be super helpful too, because I'm just thinking like Settler's Cabin, like I don't know if it's changed since when I was last there, but it was like the trail would just dump you off into like a clearing, and then you just have to like walk along the side of the road and search for like what might be the other.
I was warned about that. They have a hash system, and sometimes I'm just like I went to the one intersection there, and I'm just like, I don't see the color marks.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't have this map to tell me that's the way I need to go and not this way, like I don't know. And then part of me in my head is like, well, if I get too lost and end up on the other end, and I can just Uber back to my car.
Yeah.
Probably so. But yeah, we're not that far out of the city, and actually very close to the airport, so there should be plenty of Ubers around. Mm-hmm. We're like, hi, just come out to the woods and pick me up. This is not suspicious at all.
Not at all.
Not even more suspicious some places I had to take people when I was doing Uber. Oh boy, there's some sketchy ones. Let's see what else we got here. Amanda, give Amanda credit for the 3D printing her face onto the action figures as well.
Nice.
That I didn't mention before. So, no, don't want to talk about that. That's bad news. Twitter is testing a new reminder encouraging users to write image descriptions. This is something I wish we had Katie here to talk about, because she's been really big. She's told us about the image descriptions, which has been implemented in a while for Twitter. I don't remember to do it, but it's really an accessibility thing. Probably on my level, it's not quite a big deal, but if I'm working with a brand that multiple people are going to be a part of, so they're talking about, adding the descriptive text for Twitter to make it more accessible, but it's going to actually like, how we kind of get reminded, that's the button, how we get reminded like, hey, did you want to read that article you're retweeting that we get sometimes now? Which is, yes, I'm so glad. Don't forget to make your image accessible. I think that's a really good thing to make it. Image descriptions were first introduced in Twitter in 2016, and I bet you didn't know it was there.
I didn't know it was there.
Right? No. But, it makes it accessible, but also makes it more searchable too, right? Like your image could pop up in Google image search, potentially, I would imagine, things like that. So, but yeah, they will prompt people to capture. You can of course toggle off the reminder, but it looks like it's going to default as on. But I think that's a perfect to introduce something like that. It's something that hopefully social media professionals knew, and who knows.
I think it's great. Yeah, I didn't even, it's something that I didn't even think about until I saw it on the Borough of Millvale. They posted something, and they wrote the text on the picture in the Facebook post, and somebody commented and thanked them, saying that, it's such a big deal for them. I think they were talking about themselves, either them or a friend, about how they were able to engage with this post because of that. And I thought, I never even considered
and something for PJX museums. I think that is something you guys should consider, actually.
Oh, it is,
in your strategies, because you are, such a broad, group of people will be checking out your stuff. Like that's exactly the audience I think should definitely be accessible, right?
Yeah.
So, well, another thing that you can think about for PGH museums, this is one, and I feel like Katie shared this with me. Instagram creators can now lock photos and reels behind a paywall. Right there. So I guess, everybody's kind of doing this now. We have super tweets and things like that, right? So if you are an influencer, if you are a business, if you have a subscriber kind of base, or, a base that you could become subscribers, it's another way to kind of build that up too. Everybody's rolling these out. It makes sense. It makes sense for,
basically
any influencer that has a big audience that wants to see more of that influencer. Right.
Meta only fans,
or but no, I think informational things would be important too. I'm thinking of like podcasts I listen to, like Twit. They have their Club Twit stuff, and they have the subscribe feature on Apple where it will do extra episodes. And you can do the same thing behind Patreon too. But now you're doing it where your audience is, right? Because if we do Patreon, I got to get all you guys to come to Patreon, right? To say, hey, we got stuff over here. It's another social network. But if you are fortunate that, 80% of our audience is on Instagram, do this. That's where all the behind the scenes goes. That's where all your extra content goes, where your informational content goes.
It definitely depends on your business model.
It does. It absolutely
like you had
does.
mentioned PGH museums, and this would actually be a detriment to our business model, because our goal is to get people on the website. That's why we ended up paying more money to Squarespace instead of doing a Patreon, because we don't want people to leave our website. We want them to utilize our services.
And your membership, the benefit of your membership is the brick and mortar going to the museums, right?
So no, it's a supporters program, and basically what it is it's like we offer a supporters card, a perks card, where you can get discounts at different museums. You can also get discounts on like certain art purchases and framing and things like that. But that's more of like a thank you for your support. You got to think about it like kind of like NPR when you donate to your local NPR station and they send you a pair of socks. Those socks are not worth the donation. Now, actually, our supporters card, you can actually redeem more than what you're paying if you utilize all of those services.
Yes.
But the idea is we're thanking you for your support of our work and allowing us to be able to do what we're striving to do.
So
with
this
our
is
mission.
this is for somebody that is an Instagram influencer.
Yeah.
Or at least their business is relatively built on Instagram as a content creator on Instagram.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Oh, definitely. And I never really, that's something I never really understood. I don't understand why people get so into influencers, but good for them. They're making a lot of money.
Direct access to people. You know what I mean? To interesting people. That's what it is. That's it.
I never find any of them interesting, though. That's the thing.
because you're not a teenager. Okay,
I guess so.
That's the difference. And this is the biggest thing too. Is on top of, part of the younger generation not getting jobs because they're looking at people that they're watching who are on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and saying that's what I want to do, right? Versus we're sitting here watching TV. I want to be Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can be Hulk Hogan, but a lot more people can be. I want to say Mr. Beast because he's such an outlier too, but I'm trying to think of an influencer or some
random person who just goes and does stupid skits or pranks.
The person that does the news under her desk. I can't remember. I don't know. It's the news under my desk account.
Okay, so now that's actually cool.
And I started listening to her podcast.
That's the kind of influencer I can get behind because that's actually creative.
But that's exactly the thing, right?
Yeah.
So like presume she's on Instagram or TikTok has a similar thing. I want more of you. Yeah. You're the person I mentioned. I love how you tell me the news and tell me the podcast. I listened to the first time the podcast because she plugged it on her TikTok, and I'm like, which is like great. It worked, right? So I listened to it. I was like, this is fantastic. And it's very interesting news items, kind of NPR-y a little bit, but, with her own spin on it and everything, right? And I was just like, this is perfect. Like, because, it's called a personality, especially on these platforms. And if you are the product. We talk about the pro wrestlers when we talk social media. You are the product.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a TikToker, you are the product.
Well, see,
right?
to me, that's like creative and interesting. Like
Yes.
when I think influencer, I guess I'm always thinking of like, here's some like snotty brat who's like spoiled and whining and like throwing a temper tantrum, and everyone thinks they're cool and pays attention. Now, the person of the news under the desk, that's like providing a service
Sure.
that is in a creative way that is fun.
Well, there's
so I'm like, that's something.
There's all of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to the person that I was helping doing bang videos for a girl that was on Dance Moms, several years ago. So like there's some business here, but also that's somebody that was on television. So I consider that a different thing, that's still an influencer thing, right? And she's dancing and doing whatever and being a teenager or whatever. I think she's graduated this year. But there's so many. Listen, I've watched my friends' kids with their YouTube accounts when we're like over watching pay-per-views, and I'm like, and they watch the weirdest things that we'll never understand. Those are all opportunities for business, right? Because they're growing into that versus watching 3 channels like I did growing up.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not that old. It's just I didn't have cable until 96. So it feels like I'm older when I say something like that. So, because everybody else I knew,
we had cable.
Yeah,
that
everybody
was
else
one
I knew
thing.
had cable at that point. Growing up, right, for the most part, it was just I was a weird outlier.
You know what? It wasn't really worth it. You were probably better off not having cable.
I know.
See, we had cable, but I didn't get any of the benefits of it because, we had the one TV.
Well, if I had it in town, to my knowledge, that's the small town that I lived, like that I went to school in, didn't even carry MTV.
Yeah,
because the town decided they weren't going to carry MTV.
We just had the one
because
TV.
It was so bad in the late 80s.
Yeah, with us, it was whatever my dad wanted to watch, and that's what was on.
Exactly.
So it's not like nowadays where everybody has a TV in their room.
Oh, we started that early. We had like 1 or 2 satellite boxes connected to all the TVs in the house.
Oh, nice.
So it was like, I'm watching wrestling in my room. Who taking the channel in the living room? Because that was the closest one to me.
That's funny.
It was like worse than it was like the whole like you pick up the phone and screwed up your Quake game online because you had like just one phone line in the house.
Yeah.
So I was very, very. My parents were very, very good to me, and like they actually installed a second phone line that went to my room because I was the one using because I was the core person using the internet, and then we put one in the main room too for everybody, and I maintained that for everybody, and then and then we did the satellite dish, and again you only had so many boxes, and so we just split it just like we did with the antenna, right, to everybody's room. We had the infrastructure there, and the rotor and everything, and it was just like, well, I hope we all want to watch wrestling tonight or this program or that program, because that's the choice, and eventually we got a second box down the line. So it's like, cool. Now Dad's got one in his room, that's he can actually just do whatever he wants now, so but yeah, it's just one of those things. Oh boy. Those are the days. Brian, thank you so much for joining us again. I think we already did a soft plug for PJ's Museums right there.
Yeah.
You like how I worked that in there? So
thank you.
Check it out. Check it out. A very good resource. If you're like, it's been 3 years since I've been to museums, because the world.
We have over 400 museums, galleries, and historic sites that you can explore.
It's been there, quietly updating and being ready for you to go back into the world and to say, oh, these are the museums.
Now's the time.
Let's re-explore. I'm re-exploring Pittsburgh because I can go out and do things, and I'm not, like we all had to sit back, and now we're like relearning new things, and let's make some new habits, including go visit your local museum museum type facility, because I know there's some very interesting things in there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, go check that out. And, of course, please check out everything AwesomeCast.com and SorgatronMedia.com for all the great episodes. Fishing Without Bait returned this week. Had a little bit of sabbatical and a little bit of something happened to some of those episodes that I have no idea, and I can't explain it, and I don't want to do it again. So much more fun coming up here. And I will give a shout out to, if you want to, and if you like drinking and you want to experience some professional wrestling, can I invite you to MV Young's Backyard Barbecue at Voodoo Brewing in New Ken. That is going to be an event that we're going to be working on the live stream for this weekend. MV has a history of doing some very interesting shows, including some very interesting shows in New York City, where he resided previously, and including some interesting off-the-book shows that happened here and there, called the Polyam Cult Parties. So, but no, there's some fun wrestling events. It's not as weird as it sounds, and I think you'd have a lot of fun out there. There's a fantastic video promoting it that I've shared on my timeline on Sorgatron on the Twitters, and Indie Wrestling, IndieWrestling.us on the Twitter as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You have been our awesome audience. Have an awesome week. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.